Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. All people. The #1 player in the cultivation world. Chapter 11. But Zhang Shuyu wanted to learn the new skills of this talent, and this was the only way. While Zhang Shuyu was thinking, the light of upgrade came on again. Finally reached LV.12. LV.12 Ghost Cultivator Necromancer, the only hidden, Zhang Shuyu. Power. 120. Agility. 120. Spirit. 360. Physique. 120. Equipment. None. Mustard space. 44 120ths. Undead Puppets number. 44. Talent. All skills bonus LV.2, unique. Passive skill. Damage transfer. Active skills. Soul Fire LV.12, Summon Undead Puppet LV.12. All skills bonus LV.2, all skills increased by 2000%. Injury transfer. All damage suffered by the monk is borne by the summoned creature. Soul Fire LV.12 burns the target's soul, continuously burning damage. The power depends on one's own mental power and skill level. Summon Undead Puppet LV.12 summons an orange level undead puppet. Zhang Shuyu looked at his attributes after upgrading. His strength and agility didn't change much. Every time he upgraded, he would increase by 10, which was very stable. On the contrary, the mental power directly reached 360 points, tripled. It is said that there will be a big increase in attributes after LV.12. I belong to the summoning art repair, and the biggest change is the spiritual power. Then his whole body became excited. The talent has become stronger again, from a 10-fold increase to a 20-fold increase. Even when nothing remains the same, the combat power of the undead puppet can be increased many times. What's more, the level of the undead puppet has also changed, from the red level undead puppet to the orange level undead puppet. Zhang Shuyu couldn't wait to summon one. I saw the orange level undead puppet. The brown color on its body had disappeared, replaced by an orange-red color. The cracks on his body have almost completely disappeared, and even the broken sword in his hand is a little brighter. At least it's not like picking it up from the trash. Orange level undead puppet. Thunderbolt LV. 1 deals 2000% damage to the target, CD 10 minutes. It is still the attributes of the 4 major balances, and the basic attributes are all 150. After the 20-fold increase of the all skills bonus, all attributes reached an astonishing 3000. With the information Zhang Shuyu currently has, he can no longer judge how many levels of monks this value should be equivalent to. With this attribute, Zhang Shuyu can completely walk sideways in this area. In addition, a skill has been added to give the undead puppet a big move. Is this a needle piercing the sky? Zhang Shuyu thought of a sentence. There is no need for exquisite and fancy skills, only 1 or 2 practical and powerful skills are enough to sit firmly on the Daoyutai. This is the situation with him now. He doesn't have the brilliant moves of Fa Shu, nor the dazzling combat skills of Shu Shu. With what he has now, he dares to say that people below LV.25 cannot be his opponents. It is not difficult for him to challenge beyond the level, which is unattainable for others. Even if he stood up and let people of LV.25 hit him, it would take a long time to kill him. Just as Zhang Shuyu was about to continue summoning the orange level undead puppet, there was a sound of breaking wind, and then, a sharp arrow flew past his eyes. Whizzing. Several sharp arrows flew past his eyes, one of them. Come on him. An invisible film appeared, blocking the sharp arrow. The passive skill was activated automatically, and all the damage was transferred to the undead puppet. Zhang Shuyu was not injured. Zhang Shuyu reacted immediately. At this time, red light appeared in the eyes of the undead puppet, and it entered the alert mode. A man in black ran out of the forest. His speed is very fast, and his agility attribute is not low. He should be a monk with assassin talent. She saw Zhang Shuyu, quickly turned around and ran, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. 2 seconds after the man in black left, 2 more people chased after him. Archery repair, and a summoning repair. Needless to say, several arrows just now were due to the archer. If it wasn't for Zhang Shuyu's passive ability of damage transfer, he would definitely be injured now. The 2 ignored Zhang Shuyu and quickly chased after him. Zhang Shuyu's eyes flickered, in the wrong direction. The men in black have changed directions here, and they are doomed to return without success. Sure enough, not long after, the two retreated. The summoner used the skill. Zhang Shuyu felt a gust of wind blowing around. After a few seconds, the summoner sighed. That guy is very cunning and has already escaped. It's okay, you can escape for a while, but you can't escape forever. After the shooter finished speaking, he looked at Zhang Shuyu. Son, did the man in black pass by just now? Zhang Shuyu didn't answer, but looked at him. Your arrow hit me, sorry. The archer looked at the arrow on the ground and understood. Sorry, my mistake. Zhang Shuyu waved his hand. This is not an example. The shooter had the illusion that Zhang Shuyu seemed to be looking down at him, while the summoner looked gloomy. The other party fled, and he was in a bad mood. He turned his head to look at the undead puppet beside Zhang Shuyu. The nether system summons creatures. There was a trace of disgust in his eyes, and he slowly raised the staff in his hand. The undead puppet's eyes glowed red, and it entered a fighting stance. The shooter suddenly grabbed the summoner and said in a low voice, "Don't make trouble." The summoner's eyeballs rolled for a moment, but he finally let go. "Nu." Looking at the two people retreating, Zhang Shuyu snorted coldly. You're lucky. Although he didn't use the detection technique, judging from the power of the arrow just now, the attack power wasn't that great. The level of these two people will not be too high, at most LV.25. If that person wants to attack him, Zhang Shuyu feels. I may be about to kill for the first time. He is not the virgin. If you are bullied to the head, you will definitely pay back 100-fold. When the summoner raised his staff just now, Zhang Shuyu had already brought all the undead puppets back to the mustard space. They can be surrounded in an instant. Once the war starts, they will definitely be slapped by the Chaos Sword. No. Dismembered. Kill LV.11 Greedy Demon Patrolman, experience plus 400. Kill LV.12 Greedy Demon Soldier, experience plus 425, get the bone of Greedy Demon. ... Tips flooded in like swiping the screen, and the experience was also rising rapidly. 48 orange-level undead puppets killed monsters in the forest. With the improvement of his skills, Zhang Shuyu once again enjoyed the thrill of instant kills. When these orange-level undead puppets encounter LV.10 to LV.13 greedy monsters, they are all instantly killed with a sword, and the efficiency is improved again. But starting from LV.12, the experience requirement for leveling up has increased again, and it has increased by 3 times. Upgrades. Slower and slower. Based on this calculation, at least 5,000 greedy monsters had to be killed before Zhang Shuyu could advance to a level. The undead puppet was tireless and killed in seconds all the way, but it was still a little bit close. Until the night fell, Zhang Shuyu still lacked 30% experience from LV.14. Zhang Shuyu built a bonfire in the forest and ate the food he brought from home. He didn't plan to go back. Time is limited and cannot be wasted on the way. According to the current speed, it can almost reach LV.16 tomorrow, but it is not clear whether it can reach LV.18 the day after tomorrow. After LV.18, the upgrade speed will drop further, and we have to leave one day to go back. In this way, I can rise to LV.20 at most. How did my sister do it? Although my sister is a legendary level art repair blade dancer, she can't upgrade faster than me. Something must have been overlooked. Zhang Shuyu pondered in his memory, thinking about the knowledge he had learned from the sect, and combined it with Zhang Shuli's action path at that time to simulate it. Suddenly he realized something. A copy of the Xuanyu City quarry. Could it be that sister and others teamed up to go to the quarry in Xuanyu City? The hard-level dungeons are all stronger monsters, and they must have more experience. That's why my sister got hurt. Zhang Shuyu clenched his fist, thinking that his guess must be right, and made up his mind. Yes, it must be so. I'll go and see it tomorrow. The night was getting deeper and deeper, and with Zhang Shuyu as the center, all the monsters in a radius of 500 meters had been cleared away. The undead puppet was hiding in the dark night, and he began to enter meditation. There are 48 undead puppets for protection. Coupled with the existence of passive skills, there is no need to worry about safety issues at all. The forest at night is not quiet, and there are occasional wolves howling in the distance. There is also the wind blowing, and the rustling of the leaves. Combined together, it sounds a bit eerie. Where Zhang Shuyu is located, the temperature is lower than other places. The existence of undead puppets turned the gentle evening wind into a dark wind. In the middle of the night, an undead puppet suddenly reminded him that someone was approaching his location. Zhang Shuyu woke up from trance. Are you the monk who came to kill the monster? Got lost. Not many people come to the forest to level up in the middle of the night. Zhang Shuyu didn't move, but the alarm bells sounded in his heart. On the outside, don't act recklessly and be too big. The bonfire is the only light at night. Soon, the visitor appeared in Zhang Shuyu's sight. Zhang Shuyu had seen it before. It's you, the woman in black who ran around in the afternoon. Is there anything to eat? Her voice was pleasant, and her beautiful eyes were bright and clear in the firelight. Zhang Shuyu took out a baked potato sprinkled with chili noodles and handed it over. The only food he prepared was this, chili noodles, and some water. The woman in black didn't feel disgusted. After taking off her veil, she began to eat. Seems starved. Behind the veil was Zhang Qingshuo's delicate little face, who looked only 17 or 18 years old. Zhang Shuyu did not use the detection technique on her. One is impolite, and the other is that it will attract hostility. Thanks. Before Xie could say anything, her whole back trembled violently, and she began to cough. Choked, Zhang Shuyu took out a jug of water and handed it over. The woman in black took a few sips before going on. Thanks. She finally spoke clearly. Zhang Shuyu only nodded in understanding. The woman in black ate bit by bit, but Zhang Shuyu didn't say anything. The atmosphere fell into an eerie silence. She didn't eat fast, her movements were graceful, and her nimble eyes looked at Zhang Shuyu from time to time. There was a glimmer of light in her eyes. She didn't know what she was thinking. After eating, she finally spoke. What's your name, please? Seeing that Zhang Shuyu didn't answer, she continued. Is that good? How about we use detection techniques on each other? Zhang Shuyu thought for a while, then nodded. The fingertips of the two shimmered at the same time, and they used the detection technique towards each other. Zhang Shuyu was stunned for a moment. The detection technique failed, and there was no feedback. The man in black smiled coquettishly, as if he had succeeded in his trick. Hey, didn't you see anything? So you're Zhang Shuyu, LV.10, Ghost Cultivator. I've never heard of this talent, so strange. I remember seeing a puppet next to you in the afternoon. Is that your summoned creature? Nether-type summoned creatures are rare. She suddenly spoke more, one sentence after another. Why don't you talk? Don't tell me you're dumb, you don't look like that. Zhang Shuyu looked at her and raised his eyebrows slightly. Why? She seemed to have seen a new continent. Her little face was full of surprise. So you can talk. Why? Zhang Shuyu looked at her and asked again. The woman in black still smiled. Are you asking why the detection technique fails? Of course it's because of this. She took out a jade pendant. This is the isolation jade pendant. As long as you wear it, anyone who uses the detection technique on you, as long as the level is not higher than your 12th level, it will be invalid. She put away the isolation jade pendant. Now try to detect me again. Zhang Shuyu nodded and threw the detection technique. LV.23 Hidden Shadow Killer Balixi. A gust of breeze blew, and Balixi's smile disappeared instantly, and Zhang Shuyu also looked towards that place. Zhang Shuyu had already discovered the visitor through the undead puppet. In addition to the shooter and summoner I saw today, there is now another surgery repairer with a sword on his back. 3 people surrounded them from different directions. Bai Lixi frowned, and her delicate face was also wrinkled. Endless. Isn't it just an intermediate skill scroll? I have been chasing me for several days, and I haven't given up yet. Bai Lixi stomped her feet vigorously and smiled lightly at Zhang Shuyu. Little friend, my sister is leaving first. I will come to play with you when I have a chance. Whoosh. A sharp arrow shoots from the darkness. Bai Lixi reacted quickly and dodged sideways in an instant. Boom. The sharp arrow exploded and turned into 2 beams of light, which landed on Zhang Shuyu and Bai Lixi respectively. A huge mark suddenly appeared above the heads of Zhang Shuyu and Bai Lixi, shining in the dark night. It looks like a moving Kongming lantern. Oops, marked arrow. Bai Lixi's small face turned pale suddenly. She feels things are in trouble. Zhang Shuyu remembered the information about marked arrow, which is a skill of most archers, which can mark the target, can show the target track, and cannot be invisible. Marked arrows are very effective for killers, assassins and other art repairs, and can limit their stealth skills. When raiding dungeons, this kind of arrow can also be used to deal with some monsters that are good at hiding. Marked by the shooter, the stealth skills are limited, and it is almost impossible to escape. A sneer sounded. I can't escape this time, hee hee. The summoner came out of the forest. On the other side, the shooter is standing on a tree. Another sword cultivator also arrived. The summoner held the staff, his cold eyes swept over Zhang Shuyu and Balixi. I should have guessed that you were in the same group. Shadow and Nether are a natural pair, a nest of snakes and rats. The streamer in Balixi's hand flashed away. A cold dagger appeared in her hand. He has nothing to do with this matter. I will return the exercise scroll to you, and we will go our separate ways in the future. The shooter in the tree laughed without hesitation. Ha ha ha, I laughed so hard. Of course it was fine before, but now, we think it's safer to kill you. The summoner then said, the dead can keep secrets, so no one will know that we have intermediate skill scrolls. It's better to save one thing than to do more, what do you think? Balixi lowered her voice, I'll hold them back later, you run first. Zhang Shuyu looked at her, what about you? Don't forget, I am a hidden shadow killer, and the night is my home field, so I have my own way to escape. Zhang Shuyu knew that Balixi was talking nonsense. If Balixi could really beat her, she wouldn't have run away from the start. As a hidden shadow killer, he might really be able to get away before. But now that she was marked by the marked arrow, it was impossible for her to run away invisibly. Want to get away? Dream. Sagittarius said in a deep voice, stop talking nonsense. Long nights and dreams, do it. The summoner raised his staff. Not only are you going to die today, but so is this little guy. Dazzling brilliance burst out from the staff, and a huge group of light rose into the sky. The surrounding forest is like being in daylight. Brightness. The summoner's light spell can not only be used for lighting, but also can improve the summoner's spell hit rate. Most importantly, light art can also restrain stealth skills. This situation will only make Balixi more aggrieved. Yeah, fight. There was a flash of light in Balixi's hand, her whole body tensed up, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Her gaze became sharper, and she began to look around, looking for opportunities to break through. The archer in the treetops has already drawn his bow, and the arrows are ready to go. The sword cultivator also took off the sword behind his back, raised it behind his back, ready to go. The summoner's staff was shining brightly. The three of them surrounded each other without leaving any gap for Balixi to escape. At this time, Zhang Shuyu raised his finger slightly, and an undead puppet appeared in front of him. TCH, the gnat may shake the tree. The summoner had disdain on his face, and there was an unconcealable hatred in his eyes. Explosion technique. The summoner gave a light drink. Above the forest, a huge fireball with a diameter of 1 meter appeared out of thin air, wrapped in raging flames, and rushed towards the two of them. The explosive fire technique can only be mastered by summoners who have reached LV.25, and it is very powerful. Once hit, not dead but also injured. Get out of the way. Balixi's pretty face changed, and she immediately pulled Zhang Shuyu back. It's a pity that the summoner also released the entanglement technique while casting the explosive fire technique. Balixi was pulling Zhang Shuyu back, for a split second. She only felt a weight in her body, and her speed slowed down. An invisible spiritual force extended from the staff like a thin thread, wrapped around the ankles of the two of them. While Balixi was being entangled, the shooter also let go. The bowstring vibrates, and an arrow shoots out. Archer skill blue wind cracking arrow. 1 arrow turns 3. Can cause 3 times attack. At this time, Jansho also flew towards the two of them at an astonishing speed like an arrow leaving the string. Ruined. Balixi's face turned pale, and she gritted her teeth. Zhang Shuyu was pushed away forcefully and left the attack range. At this moment, 2 undead puppets appeared on the left and right sides of Balixi. The 3 undead puppets are like 3 shields, firmly protecting Balixi in the middle. The fireball fell on the undead puppet. Boom. The fire exploded, and the sky was full of flames. The archer's blue wind crack arrow collided with the undead puppet, making a metal-like roar. Jansho also collided with the undead puppet at this moment. However, The undead puppet remained motionless, but the sword repairman was blown away. In the flames, the undead puppet walked out slowly, its body glowing orange, without any sign of injury. No. How is this possible? The summoner couldn't believe what he saw. He has already tested with control technique. Zhang Shuyu is just a LV.12 ghost cultivator. The level of summoned creatures cannot exceed monks, at most it is LV.12. With his LV.26 strength, he couldn't kill such a little recruit in seconds. The archer and the sword repairer were also stunned. What kind of summoned creature is this? So strong. Crunch, crunch, accompanied by the thrilling sound of rubbing, undead puppets appeared around. A total of 48 undead puppets surrounded the three of them layer by layer. Not only the three of them were stunned, but Bilixi was also stunned. Her eyes revealed confusion, her mouth could not be closed, and she looked a little cute. In fact, this afternoon, she had seen Zhang Shuyu's undead puppet, but she didn't expect it to be so strong. It's just a LV.12 undead puppet. Moreover, the puppet can still see many cracks all over its body, and the broken sword in its hand seems to rust away at any time. In short, one word to describe: vulnerable. Bilixi couldn't figure it out. How could this thing be so strong? LV.25 summoner's skills can't hurt it. There is also the archer's blue wind cracking arrow, and even the strong sword repairer can't cause damage to it. Is this really a LV.12 summoned creature? It seems a little too strong. And it's fine if there is only one, but right now. Groups of flames lit up in the deep night, and undead puppets appeared silently one by one. Zhang Shuyu didn't talk harshly, he walked up to Balixi's side with murderous intent in his eyes. Kill. With a thought, the undead puppet immediately attacked. The summoner's face changed drastically, his staff shook, and a protective shield appeared on his body, the Aurora Shield. This is a signature skill exclusive to most summoners. It is said that if one reaches the level of a mythical summoner, as long as the shield is supported, even a city can become under the impact of the forbidden spell, comparable to the grand array of guardians. However, the summoner's agility attribute is low, and his movement speed cannot be as fast as that of a shooter. Moreover, now that he is surrounded, there is no room to dodge. The undead puppet showed no expression, raised his sword and dropped it, and the Aurora Shield suddenly twisted and shook. The summoner's face changed drastically. Only one sword. The Aurora Shield almost broke. What are these puppets? The attack power is so terrifying. But how can there be time to hesitate on the battlefield? At this time, the sword of the second undead puppet fell. Aurora Shield. It will collapse at the touch of a button. Turned into stars and fireflies, dissipated in the forest. Resist the fireworks. The summoner released his skills again to make up for it. Fiery flames spew forward like silver flowers. The puppets in front of them were immediately pushed tens of meters away by the flames. Before the joy in his eyes bloomed, his eyes turned black. The two puppets have already jumped to the top of the summoner. The two puppets didn't give him a chance to use his skills. The sword light flashed, and the summoner's head was already rolling in the sky, and then performed a gorgeous free-fall movement, with a dull face. In less than 2 seconds, the summoner died. The shooter was also hunted down by the puppet of the undead at this time, describing himself as embarrassed. Hearing and witnessing the whole process of summoner being killed, his eyes were full of fear. Even if the shooter is faster than the summoner, it is still a lot worse than the 3000 undead puppet. He kept teleporting his skills, trying to escape from the siege of the undead puppets. It's a pity that I ran desperately again and again, but it was all in vain. As the undead puppet approached, his range of action became smaller and smaller. Compared with the dead summoner and the dying archer, the sword repairer's situation is much better. At this time, his whole body was covered with a layer of golden light, and under the invisible barrier, he used his skills to stab again and again to escape into the distance. This layer of light is stronger than summoner's Aurora Shield, protecting him firmly. Even if the sword of the undead puppet fell on him, it couldn't hurt him. It's the ultimate defense. I didn't expect this swordsman to be lucky. Zhang Shuyu knows this skill, which is one of the core skills of sword repair. Once activated, the defense value will become extremely high for a short time. No one knows exactly how strong it is, but there are corresponding data references. A level 25 swordsman can withstand a blow from a level 50 summoner when he uses ultimate defense. Although it was just one shot, it also showed how strong the ultimate defense was. Sword cultivators who have mastered ultimate defense and sword cultivators who have not mastered ultimate defense are like two kinds of monks. But the ultimate defense is not easy to learn. There is no corresponding secret book, only the scroll of exercises, all by chance. At this time, Jonsho fled frantically against the ultimate defense. There was a scream behind his ear, and he knew the shooter was dead too. The summoner and the shooter died together, and the arrogance of the sword repairer was completely shattered. Why are these undead puppets so scary? If he had known that there was such a perverted thing, he would not have come. He lost his life because of an intermediate skill scroll, and suffered a blood loss. Surround him, use skills, don't let him escape. Zhang Shuyu gave the puppet an order. It is impossible for him to let the sword cultivator who wanted to kill him just now escape. The law of the weak is prey to the strong in the cultivation world. Pass. The sword of the undead puppet emitted red light at the same time. Thunderbolt. Deals 200% damage to the target. The undead puppet with a power of up to 3000, after using a skill, its attack power doubles instantly. Still using skills. Jonsho just wants to vomit blood now. Undead puppets are scary enough, but they still use skills. This is going against the sky. The broken sword exuding red light fell on him. The light on Jonsho's body suddenly dimmed a lot. And then, the second, the third. In the case of no attack, the ultimate defense can last for 1 minute. But the higher the damage absorbed, the duration of ultimate defense will be shortened. One by one, the undead puppets came up like a tide and activated their skills one by one, cutting off the sword cultivator's retreat. The sword cultivator in the barrier, the only mood now is despair. 10 seconds later, he was unwilling to be hacked into pieces by the undead puppets. Either don't do it, or do it absolutely. All dead. Balixi has not reacted until now. From the beginning of the battle to the end, it was estimated that it took only 20 seconds before and after, all 3 enemies had been killed. And the instigator was standing beside her, not even moving. Zhang Shuyu nodded. Balixi was right, they were all dead. Dozens of undead puppets ran back, holding a lot of things in their arms. After the monk dies, the things in the void storage domain will fall out. The undead puppet saw the glowing things and packed them back. Orange Orgrimmar Sindore Golden Staff. Attributes. Spirit plus 2/0, Summoning Skill bonus plus 5%. Limit. LV.22. Orange Orgrimmar Hurricane Bow. Attributes. Dexterity plus 2/0, Bow Skill bonus plus 5%. Limit. LV.22. Orange Orgrimmar One-Handed Sword. Attributes. Strength plus 1/0, Constitution plus 1/0, Attack Skill bonus plus 5%. Limit. LV.22. Orange Orgrimmar Shield. Attributes. Constitution plus 2/0, Defense Skill bonus plus 5%. Limit. LV.22. 4 pieces of orange level equipment were laid out neatly. The equipment exudes an orange-red light, which is somewhat similar to the luster on the undead puppet. Seeing that Zhang Shuyu was a little confused, Balixi introduced him. These are all weapons from the Orgrimmar tribe instance. Zhang Shuyu was silent. He knew about Orgrimmar, but he really didn't know about such a dungeon. Balixi saw that Zhang Shuyu didn't understand, so he continued to explain. The Horde of Orgrimmar is a level 25 dungeon in Mig City, and my 3 friends often practice there. Zhang Shuyu nodded. I see. These 4 pieces of orange level equipment are useless to him, but they can be sold for some spirit stones. He was not polite at all, and put it away, and Balixi didn't have any disputes about it. The rest of the materials, such as wolf fur, animal bones, dream herons. The quantity is not too much, and Zhang Shuyu also accepts all the orders. No matter how small a fly's legs are, they are still meat, and they can sell some spirit stones. Then, there is only one thing left. Elementary Skill Scroll. Information. Randomly obtain skills below LV.25. I didn't expect it to be a scroll of exercises. This scroll is worth 100,000 spirit stones. Money is hard to buy. Holding the scroll, Zhang Shuyu began to wonder whether to use it for himself or exchange it for spirit stones. Balixi asked, you haven't used this thing before, have you? Zhang Shuyu nodded. It really didn't work. Then you can use it. Although there is a chance to acquire the skills you have learned, you may also learn new skills. No, you don't want to sell spirit stones, do you? Brother, are you so short of spirit stones? It's just a basic skill scroll. It's not an advanced one, so what is it worth? From Bailexi's point of view, 100,000 spirit stones doesn't seem like much wealth. It seems that she is a rich woman from a good family. Zhang Shuyu held the exercise scroll. You may not be as old as me, and how do you use it? Bailixi covered her mouth and laughed. It all counts, don't you think it's good to be a younger brother? My sister protects you. Cough. It's very simple, you just hold the scroll and just say open it. Zhang Shuyu raised her eyebrows, seeing that she was too embarrassed to say it and didn't bother with this issue anymore. She didn't doubt it, so she did it. Open. ... It was quiet all around. Bailixi was still grinning. Oh, no, your voice is not loud enough, try again. Zhang Shuyu looked at her speechlessly, without speaking. He has never used it, but he is not stupid. In the next second, Zhang Shuyu directly activated the exercise scroll with mental power. Bailixi was looking at Zhang Shuyu expectantly. But Zhang Shuyu kept silent. Suddenly, golden light burst out from the skill scroll, covering Zhang Shuyu. Ah, Bailixi looked disappointed. You actually found out. She also wanted to tease Zhang Shuyu, but it turned out that Zhang Shuyu's IQ is not low. Skill. LV.1 Bone Explosion. Close black lens bracket. Attribute. Use mental power to detonate the flesh and blood body after death, and deal 10% damage of dry bone energy to enemies within 1 meter. Gained a new skill and the scroll was not wasted. Looking at the attributes again, it seems very tasteless at first glance, only within 1 meter. What is 1 meter enough for? When fighting, the opponent throws a sword chi, and it is 10 meters away. And the power is calculated with dry bone energy. Dry bone energy. Zhang Shuyu can understand that in the eyes of ghost cultivators, even dead objects have energy. Energy comes from flesh, bone, and even soul. Even in death, the energy in the body will not be less than when alive. Just like some powerful monks, some souls survive after death, or the souls are scattered but the body is not corrupted, and they can continue to emit huge energy. But Zhang Shuyu saw a different bright spot in it. This can be regarded as a group attack skill. If he faced thousands of enemies, he couldn't rely on a puppet to strike with a sword, right? That's too slow. But if an enemy soldier is killed at this time, he will detonate it again. Instantly deals area damage. After other people are killed, the cycle can be repeated like this. As long as he has mental power, his skills will never stop like a perpetual motion machine. Coupled with his plugin, is the range a problem? Plus the 2000% bonus of all skills, it is 20 meters. Another big move. As long as he has a purple level mythical talent, Zhang Shuyu's skills are almost all divine skills. The light dissipated, and Bailixi blinked her big eyes with curiosity. How? Have you learned any new skills? Learned. Zhang Shuyu didn't hold on to the fact that Bailixi was teasing him. This Bailixi is just playful, he is not so stingy as a man. Bailixi smiled happily, ha ha ha. Not bad, looks like you're lucky. By the way, why don't you like to talk? It's a pity that your voice is so nice. Zhang Shuyu looked at her. Bailixi seems to be different from most of the female disciples in the sect, she is not afraid of him. It's lively and fun. Your voice is nice too. It is rare for Zhang Shuyu to praise others. It's not that he doesn't want to talk, it's just that he doesn't want to talk nonsense. In front of his sister Zhang Shuli and grandma, he talked a lot. Bailixi was very happy and giggled. Thank you for your compliment, I also know that my voice is very nice. For the sake of being such a talented person as you who saved me and how nice your words are, I'll give this to you. Saying that, Bailixi took out a box and stuffed it directly into Zhang Shuyu's arms. Open black lens bracket intermediate skill scroll close black lens bracket. Information. Randomly obtain skills between LV.50 and LV.87. ... Zhang Shuyu was silent. The middle level exercise scroll in the Chamber of Commerce is worth 10 million spirit stones. He, a poor dog, can't afford it. And it seems that Miss Bailixi was hunted down because of this thing. However, Bai Lixi still looked indifferent. Give it to you and keep it. Otherwise, I didn't know if I was still alive to talk to you just now. Okay, thank you. Take it as an opportunity. And with Bai Lixi's temperament, she might cause a lot of troubles in the future, so help her out. It seems that it is not impossible. After all, it is a half-personal debt. After all, people may think that their life is worth 10 million spirit stones. Why is it so cold? Bai Lixi walked to the campfire and sat down, stretched out her hands to warm her, and her brows softened, and she no longer had the defensive state she had before, frowning from time to time. Zhang Shuyu knew that it was cold here because of the undead puppets. After the undead puppets dispersed, Bai Lixi was obviously much better. Sensing the warmer temperature, Bai Lixi began to chatter with him on her own. I found a treasure chest of chants in the Orgrimmar tribe in Mig City. At that time, I thought, since it appeared in front of me, I will open it. Then I got this intermediate skill scroll. Who would have thought that those friends would see it and want to snatch it? Although this thing is not worth much, how can there be any reason to give away my things? After that, they chased me down for 2 days. From Midge City to Xuanyu City, if you didn't know, you would think they were going after me. Bai Lixi rolled her eyes after she finished speaking. It can be heard from her words. She didn't care even if it was a skill scroll with 10 million spirit stones. What she cared about was that it belonged to her. I don't know which family's eldest lady it is, I can only say, too rich. Zhang Shuyu looked at Bai Lixi and reminded her in a low voice. You almost died just now. Bai Lixi raised her eyebrows indifferently. Don't worry, my sister can't die, I will automatically transfer when I get fatal damage. But I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I would definitely be hurt. How uncomfortable it is to be injured. My sister is most afraid of pain. Well, worrying is completely unnecessary. There are endless ways for rich women to save their lives. Even if Zhang Shuyu dies, Bai Lixi can't die either. Bai Lixi stretched out her hand. I've given you all the scrolls of intermediate exercises. Is there anything else to eat? My sister is not full yet. Zhang Shuyu took out several baskets of soup dumplings, the spoils just now. Bai Lixi quickly shook her head to express her resistance. No, I want potatoes, sprinkled with paprika. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help laughing, and took out a few baked potatoes from the campfire, split them in half, and sprinkled them with chili powder. That's about the same, I don't want dead things. Bai Lixi took the baked potato and took a deep breath. Ah, fragrant. Seeing her chewing so vigorously, Zhang Shuyu couldn't help swallowing. This girl is really suitable for eating and broadcasting. Zhang Mutu, are you here to practice? Judging by your level, you shouldn't be a disciple of the Holy Land, right? Zhang Shuyu nodded. Well, no. Then you, cough. Gulu, which holy place are you planning to go to? Xuanwu Holy Land. Zhang Shuyu responded softly. Yes, Xuanwu Holy Land is good. Hearing about Xuanwu Holy Land, Bai Lixi was not surprised at all, but nodded in agreement. She has been deeply impressed by Zhang Shuyu's strength. With Zhang Shuyu's strength, it doesn't matter which holy place he goes to. Even if he wants to go to holy places in other continents, those people will probably welcome him as hell. How can anyone easily kill a monk of LV 25 at LV 12? And it's still 1 versus 3. If even Zhang Shuyu couldn't enter the Xuanwu Holy Land, then no one would be able to qualify. Bai Lixi suddenly thought of something, his eyes sparkled. If you really go to the Xuanwu Holy Land, remember to challenge their Xuanwu Tower. The reward for the first challenge is doubled. And the higher the number of layers you attack, the better, so that you will get a lot of contribution points. In the Holy Land, contribution points are more effective than spirit stones. Oh, by the way, there is a Shinto peak in the Xuanwu Holy Land. If you have a chance, you must go in. Bai Lixi seemed to know the Xuanwu Holy Land very well, and talked to Zhang Shuyu about the situation of the Xuanwu Holy Land. In her introduction, Zhang Shuyu established the general outline of the Xuanwu Holy Land in his mind. Throughout the night, almost Bai Lixi was talking and Zhang Shuyu was listening. In the forest, Bai Lixi's voice became smaller and smaller, and finally murmured into a dream, and fell asleep leaning against a tree. Zhang Shuyu took out a thin quilt, gave it to Bai Lixi to cover it, and then began to meditate. The next day, the sun shone through the thin clouds and the lush branches and leaves, reflecting on Zhang Shuyu's face. Waking up from trance, she saw Bailixi blinking at him. Any more potatoes? Bailixi smiled sweetly and stretched out her hands. Zhang Shuyu sighed, took out a potato, and put it on. Just one. Zhang Shuyu took out another one. Can you stop being so stingy? Isn't it just potatoes? That's right, a man must be magnanimous, and he must be able to share. Take all of them. In the end, Zhang Shuyu gave Bailixi all the remaining 20 or so potatoes in the void storage area. Really gone? Bailixi still didn't believe it. She wished she could get into Zhang Shuyu's void storage area and search for it herself. Zhang Shuyu spread his hands. It's really gone, it's all for you. Only then did Bailixi let Zhang Shuyu go. Okay, sister believes you. Sister is leaving. I'm going to practice killing monsters and leveling up. Zhang Mewtwo, we will see you in the future. Hurry up and work hard to get up. I'm waiting for you to upgrade me and fly. Bailixi left very simply, taking away the potatoes and the quilt. Zhang Shuyu muttered to himself after Bailixi left. Let you upgrade and take you to fly. After a whole night, within a radius of 500 meters from where he was, the greedy demon still did not appear. The monster refresh time far exceeded Zhang Shuyu's expectations. Well, it should be that I swept too fast. In the morning dew in the forest, there was still a slight smell of blood. The bodies of those 3 people are still in the forest. Zhang Shuyu watched from afar, and his mental power began to trigger the skill bone explosion. Bang! With a loud noise, the summoner's body exploded, and the area with a radius of 10 meters around him turned into ruins. The trunk of the big tree was also broken, and a few broken logs were still billowing with smoke. There was a big hole where the summoner was originally located. The power should not be underestimated. Zhang Shuyu discovered that the damage range of the dead bone explosion is 360 degrees without dead angle, and it is spherical. Since this is the case, then detonating it in the sky, maybe the damage will be even greater. He ordered the undead golem to throw the shooter's body into the air. Activate skills. Bang! The power is indeed greater than before. The conjecture proved successful, but the skill of bone explosion has a disadvantage: it is easy to accidentally injure one's own people. Neither Zhang Shuyu nor the undead puppet will be accidentally injured, but it is hard to say for the fellow Taoists in the team. Bang! Then, the sword cultivator was also detonated. The traces of the existence of the 3 of them have been completely erased. Not a scum left. There is one thing to say, the skill of indiscriminate bombing with dry bones is really a must-have for going out in the cultivation world. It is a sharp weapon for killing people, setting fires and destroying corpses. Zhang Shuyu walked towards the quarry in Xuanyu City as planned yesterday. Greedy Demon Lair. The closer you get to the quarry in Xuanyu City, the level of the greedy demon is gradually increasing. The greedy demon warlock of LV.14, the greedy demon swordsman of LV.15, and the greedy demon archer of LV.16 all appeared one by one. But in the face of undead puppets with extraordinary attributes, they have no resistance. After a night of meditation, Zhang Shuyu's mental strength has fully recovered. He can summon 5 more undead puppets. With the summon undead puppet skill level raised to LV.12, from red level to orange level, the requirements for mental power are getting higher and higher. Now summoning an undead puppet, the spiritual power has become 70, and Zhang Shuyu only has 360 spiritual power in total. In this way, there are still 10 points of mental power left, and he can recover while walking. At this time, the number of undead puppets has reached 53. One day, the mustard space will be full, and he is not in a hurry. As he got closer and closer to the copy of the quarry in Xuanyu City, there were more and more people. The monsters that went to the dungeon road were basically wiped out. Soon, Zhang Shuyu saw the entrance. A shattered blue vortex similar to the novice dungeon, only bigger in size and darker in color. The vortex in the novice dungeon is only pi 4 square meters. And the diameter of the entrance to the copy of the Xuanyu City quarry in front of him is pi square meters. In the vortex, the breath of killing is endless. However, outside the vortex, we're recruiting 3 missing groups and an ordinary mahjong group. Here's a Dharma repairer who can heal. Salted Fish Online is humble enough to form an ordinary team. This team has a complete set of spell repair summoners, and the only thing that needs to be done is the most powerful magic and physical training to kill monsters. Difficult dungeon team. Assassin summoner has everything you need, only almighty Dharma cultivator. Fellow Taoists, look here. 5 are missing and 4 are missing. The Asian level must come to me. I am a talisman. ... There were loud voices at the entrance of the dungeon, and many people were waving flags and shouting, looking for partners to form a team, and there were many people standing around, discussing in low voices. An undead puppet wobbled and followed Zhang Shuyu towards the entrance of the instance. The other undead puppets were all put away by him. Even in the mustard space, passive skills are still effective, and Zhang Shuyu has no worries about safety issues. Crunch, crunch. The undead puppets make the sound of bones rubbing when they walk, which makes people feel creepy. The puppet's soul fire kept beating in the head, carrying gusts of sinister wind. Wherever Zhang Shuyu walked, it seemed to be quite cold. Moreover, the appearance of the undead puppet was terrifying and its aura was so gloomy that many people couldn't help but take a few steps back. This is the case in the Xuanwu continent. No, it should be said that there are almost no ghost cultivators in the entire firmament realm, and the number of ghost cultivators is also very small. Therefore, Zhang Shuyu also understands that these people are not pure immortals after all, and they are not so bloody. But he will not take the initiative to get close to these people and show friendship, like a silly white sweet. People backed up one after another, taking the initiative to make way for Zhang Shuyu. Zhang Shuyu walked to the dungeon and checked the dungeon introduction. It turned out that this wasn't a real dungeon, but it wasn't a novice dungeon either. The level of the quarry is not high, there are only normal and difficult difficulties, and there is no Asian difficulty. The monsters in the normal difficulty are already elite monsters, several times stronger than the monsters outside, and the monsters in the difficult grade are even more powerful. Zhang Shuyu knows that the general difficulty is basically a team of 3, 1 tank, 1 DPS and a healer. The monsters in the normal difficulty are already elite monsters, several times stronger than the monsters outside, and the monsters in the difficult grade are even more powerful. Zhang Shuyu knows that the general difficulty is basically a team of 3, 1 tank, 1 DPS and a healer. The difficult gear is a team of 5 people, who need to practice both skills and skills. From this, the difference in difficulty can be judged. The undead puppet just stood quietly beside Zhang Shuyu, so someone dared to talk to Zhang Shuyu. Little friend, are you a summoner? Zhang Shuyu didn't know what this person was thinking, just looked at him, waiting for the next step. Then, a detection technique fell on him and the undead puppet. The soulless and numb eye sockets of the undead puppet suddenly glowed red, and looked at the person who cast the detection technique. The man was startled, and immediately shrank his head and hid. The detection technique returned in vain, without any information. The isolated jade pendant given by Balixi on Zhang Shuyu's body was shining brightly. As long as it doesn't exceed his stage LV, 12 people can't get his information through the detection technique. Zhang Shuyu didn't let the undead puppet make a move. It's just a detection technique, a small problem. Hee, little friend, do you want to enter the dungeon together with us? We still lack an output here. Little friend, you should be a summoner, right? The damage output of a summoner is also good, why don't you come with us? Seeing someone approaching, the people next to him boldly asked Zhang Shuyu. Little friend, come to our team. We are going to the difficult dungeon, as long as we produce equipment, we will share equally. Everyone seemed to realize that Zhang Shuyu was not simple. Started to invite him one by one. Thanks for the great love, everyone bid farewell. But Zhang Shuyu just shook his head, turned around and looked at the entrance of the instance. Boo, he reached out a little, difficult. As the vortex streamed light turned, Zhang Shuyu's figure disappeared. What's the situation? Come in, go in. Yes, he went in alone. No, this little friend wants to go it alone. Isn't it too wild? You can't say that, what if someone has this strength? That's right, there have been people who have singled out in the past. But this is still a child. Can it be the same? That fellow Taoist who used the detection technique came out and told me. How many levels did you see him? What's his background? That's right, his summoned creatures are from the Nether system. At least I've been single for 30 years, and I haven't seen them yet. The person who used the detection technique slipped out with an embarrassed look on his face. Cough. I haven't seen any news from him, so I should be wearing the isolation jade pendant. So that's how it is. Then let's wait and see what happens. Let's see if he can stand up. Ha ha ha. Makes sense. Maybe it's a fake trick. Outside of the dungeon, many people are waiting to see the good show. After all, every year, there are quite a few people who are arrogant, one-on-one, and die in the dungeon. After entering the copy, the facilities inside are indeed the same as the quarry. The quarry is full of oppressive atmosphere, and there is a strong smell of blood, which is disgusting. In front of Zhang Shuyu, stood a huge railing door. Opening the railing door means officially stepping into the dungeon. Behind the door, a 2-meter-tall monster was roaring. It seems that as soon as Zhang Shuyu opens the door, it will rush over immediately. Tear Zhang Shuyu into pieces. Through the door, Zhang Shuyu threw a detection technique. Open black lens bracket LV. 17 Greedy Demon Quarry Guard, General Level Monster. Skill: Stun Attack. As expected of a general level monster, its attributes were several times higher than ordinary monsters. The values of strength and constitution are also extremely high. LV: 17 Skill Repair. Most of the physique values are only 300 or 400. It is far worse than the general level monster whose value has soared to 1000 in front of him. If you don't form a team and cooperate with others, it is really difficult to make a difficult copy. But these attributes are compared to my own undead puppets. Not to say it's too scumbag, but it's far from it for sure. Zhang Shuyu released the undead puppets from the mustard space, and in a blink of an eye, there were already undead puppets standing outside the door. Afterwards, he gently opened the door and embarked on his first journey to clear the dungeon. Roar. The guard of the Greed Demon Quarry was so excited that he rushed out from behind the door with a roar. What greeted it was the broken sword of the undead puppet. The guard is tall and looks much stronger than the undead puppet. But God opened a window, and he will close the door for him. The guards have very weak reflexes and equally low intelligence. The broken sword of the undead puppet fell on him. Laugh. A hideous and terrifying crack appeared on its body, and green blood flowed out. No matter how high the guard's attribute is, facing an undead puppet will definitely kill him. What's more, it is now facing the siege of undead puppets. At least 5 or 6 puppets surrounded it, slashing mindlessly. In just 2 seconds, it screamed and fell to the ground. Kill LV. 17 Greedy Demon Quarry Guard, experience plus 5100. Upon receiving the reminder, Zhang Shuyu's eyes flashed with surprise. This experience is more than 10 times higher than that of monsters of the same level outside the dungeon. Killing one monster here is equivalent to 10 outside. And it only took a second or two to kill the monster, it didn't take much time. If this continues, the speed of experience will be qualitatively improved. Zhang Shuyu felt that he should find the right way to upgrade, and immediately issued an order. The undead puppet raised the big sword and rushed into the dungeon passage amidst a sound of friction. The unstoppable army of the puppet army pushed all the way. Kill LV. 17 Greedy Demon Quarry Guard, experience plus 5100. Get the bone of the Greedy Demon 5. Kill LV. 17 Greedy Demon Quarry Guard, experience plus 5100. Get Greedy Demon Fur 6. A message appears. Experience began to grow rapidly, and materials continued to increase. In Zhang Shuyu's mind, the detailed terrain of a difficult dungeon is rapidly forming. The quarry dungeon is exactly what it sounds like, a quarry. There are many tunnels inside, and there are roads wherever you go. No matter which opening you choose, you will eventually reach the end of the quarry. Generally speaking, other teams will choose one of them to move forward. Unlike Zhang Shuyu, there is an undead puppet in each channel. 3 minutes after entering the dungeon, Zhang Shuyu had an upgrade glow. LV. 13, not bad. After the upgrade, the mental power is fully recovered. At this time, each undead puppet will consume 80 points. Zhang Shuyu immediately summoned 6 undead puppets to join the team. The number of undead puppets has also reached 59. Open black lens bracket LV. 13 Ghost Cultivator Necromancer, the only hidden, Zhang Shuyu. He checked his attributes. Strength, agility, and constitution are all 140, plus 20. Spirit power has increased by 120, now it is 480. Zhang Shuyu understood this truth after checking it. The skills have been improved again, and the 4 attributes of the undead puppet have reached 3,400. The basic attribute has been increased by 20 points, and it has been doubled by 20 times. The final result is an increase of 400. All changes are basically expected. Only the bone explosion skill just obtained is still LV1, no change. Why? Zhang Shuyu was puzzled, why both the soul fire and summon undead puppet skills had been improved. The dry bone bombing skill has not changed. This situation is beyond the scope of his knowledge and has touched the blind spot of knowledge. It would be great if Bailixi was here, maybe she knows. Zhang Shuyu thought of Bailixi, the girl who liked to play pranks and claimed to be a talkative sister. It is undeniable that she knows much more than herself. Temporarily suppressing the doubts in his heart, Zhang Shuyu continued to explore the depths of the dungeon. There are 8 roads in the quarry, and each cave is connected to each other, like a maze. Fortunately, these roads all converge eventually. It is not enough to let the puppets go around again. Zhang Shuyu evenly distributed the undead puppets in each road, not letting a single monster go unnoticed. The experience has increased a lot, pushing his level to rise steadily. Open black lens bracket LV. 14 Ghost Cultivator Necromancer, the only hidden, Zhang Shuyu. With full mental power, he summoned 6 more orange level undead puppets. Compared with other dungeons, the efficiency is more than a star and a half faster. When he finished a passage, the monsters in several passages had been completely swept away. Open black lens bracket level. 14, 75.00% close black lens bracket. It was just a little bit. It took only half an hour before and after, and the efficiency was very high. Passing through the maze tunnel is the end of the dungeon. Looking around, the corridor ahead is several kilometers long. It's a pity that there is no scenery next to it. On both sides of the corridor are rooms, prisons. The roar of monster beasts continued to come from inside, echoing in the deep corridor. There was a stench in the air. A huge sleeping monster with disheveled hair blocked the middle of the road. The appearance of this monster is similar to that of a wolf or a dog. If standing in front of Zhang Shuyu, it seems to be 3 meters high and 5 meters long. The probing technique was superficial and floated on the monster. Open black lens bracket LV. 18 Quarry Jackal King Elite Leader. Open black lens bracket power. 1800 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket agility. 1800 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket spirit. 1000 close black lens bracket. Physique. 2600. Skill. Roar. This was Zhang Shuyu's first encounter with a boss-level monster, and it was also an elite-level boss. Although the 4 dimensions are not as good as undead puppets, they are still much stronger than other monsters. Even the attributes of the boss are already so high, it seems that the final boss will be stronger. Difficulty. It is normal to have such monsters. However, it shouldn't be better than the undead puppet, otherwise there should be more people in the dungeon team. Generally speaking, those who have the ability to clear difficult dungeons, their own level will definitely exceed the level of the dungeon. A 5-member team that breaks through the difficult book may have an average level of LV, 21 to 23 is enough. And the equipment is well equipped, and the skills must be lethal enough, otherwise it is impossible to attack the difficult dungeon. LVs like Zhang Shuyu. 12. It is unique in history to only brush the difficult dungeon. Disturbed by the detection technique, the Jackal King woke up from his deep sleep. It stood up slowly, its huge body exceeded Zhang Shuyu's estimation. Zhang Shuyu and the undead puppets didn't even reach its kneecaps. It looked at Zhang Shuyu with bloodshot eyes, as if longing for the taste of blood. Zhang Shuyu felt a sense of oppression intending to descend on him. Superior. Zhang Shuyu spoke without hesitation. Like lightning, 65 puppets grabbed their swords and rushed towards the Jackal King. Roar. The Jackal King roared and his skills exploded. A strong shock wave ejected from its mouth. The more than 30 undead puppets rushing to the front were all knocked into the air. The entire space shook like a sky-shattering earthquake, and countless gravels fell from the Jackal King's head. Standing tens of meters away, Zhang Shuyu could feel the aftermath of Jackal King's attack, and he couldn't help being a little surprised. It was the first time he saw that the undead puppet would be blown away by the opponent, and it was still in pieces. The undead puppets flew into the air, and after a while, some fell to the ground, some hit the rocks above their heads, and some hit the cell doors on both sides. The puppet hung its head, looking a little embarrassed. Zhang Shuyu was not worried, but heaved a sigh of relief. He could feel that the undead puppet just flew for a while and did not suffer any damage. After all, the value of 3,400 is not covered, the defense is strong. The puppets quickly adjusted their postures, held their swords and rushed towards the Jackal King. The scar from the knockdown just now has disappeared without a trace. The soul fire in their heads is still blazing. Thunderbolt. Zhang Shuyu's lips parted slightly. The undead puppet approaching the Jackal King held up the broken sword, and the orange light shone brightly. Well, the next moment, the Jackal King's skin was broken and bleeding, he was beaten to the point of crying, and began to cry. Painful. But puppets are robots without emotions, they directly raise their swords and fly up. The Jackal King was still desperately resisting, trying to resist with his tyrannical body. Swish. As the sword light fell, the Jackal King howled, ying ying, swayed from side to side in pain and hit the prison door, trying to shake off all the puppets on his body. The first time Zhang Shuyu saw a crying monster, he couldn't help but twitch his mouth. If this guy meets the Beast Master, he might still survive, but... Boss. He quickly adjusted his expression and waited patiently for the result. Boo. The puppet's knuckles were clasped tightly in its hair, and it numbly swung sword after sword. The Jackal King's voice became weaker and weaker. The puppets on the ground were not idle either, hacking and hacking. Clang. The sound of metal and bone colliding is endless. Snapped. The puppet was blown away. Clang. Snapped. Until the end, Jackal King seemed to have lost all strength, lying on his side on the ground, dying. No, it's not right. According to reason, the boss will always return to the light. Zhang Shuyu frowned and thought about it. In the next second, Zhang Shuyu's complexion became weird because a puppet didn't know what to think, but opened its mouth. Then, bite down. Ah! Jackal King suddenly gained strength and stood up abruptly. It activated its skills again, and all puppets were shaken away. Then it glared at Zhang Shuyu fiercely with its scarlet eyes. Just when Zhang Shuyu thought the Jackal King was about to charge up. Da, 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 question mark, question mark, question mark. Zhang Shuyu frowned, his face full of black question marks. No, why did this guy run away? Like a dick. At this time, the puppet who fell on the sides and the ground looked at the limping Jackal King, and immediately stood up with his body supported. The puppet that rolled around a couple of times also stood up straight up. The Jackal King's skills are painless to them. Each of them seemed to have been ignited to fight, holding up the broken sword with both hands, and chasing forward with creaking legs. Who? The Jackal King ran and howled, and there was an immediate response from the long corridor. Who? Zhang Shuyu's heart skipped a beat. Return. After receiving the order, the undead puppets immediately stopped and turned to approach Zhang Shuyu. Squeak. Amidst the Jackal King's roar, iron doors opened one after another, and the jackal with red eyes was drooling, and walked out with da-da steps. Open black lens bracket LV. 17 Quarry Jackal. Skill, Collision. Open black lens bracket LV. 18 Quarry Monster Jackal. Skill, Gnawing. When the detection technique is thrown, only the value of the physical body exceeds 1,000, and the others are in the hundreds. After the monster jackals felt it, they shook their heads, as if they were soothing their necks, and were about to start enjoying the big meal. Zhang Shuyu frowned. The attributes of these monsters are not as high as those of the greedy monster guards, but they win in quantity. Hundreds of stinky jackals came out, and the smell. Cough. That aura is like stacks of experience points placed in front of Zhang Shuyu. At this moment, he didn't know at all that if he formed an ordinary team of 5 people, he wouldn't have encountered so many jackals at all. After all, there is no history of emptying out all the greedy monsters in the isle. Usually, a melee tactical repairer blocks one by one at the door of the corridor, a long-range tactical repairer throws group attack skills in the middle, and the legal repairer assists behind. And there are only a dozen jackals at most. The undead puppets are still surrounding Zhang Shuyu to protect our coach. But the jackals who have no concept of strength gap, self-knowledge rushed over. The undead puppets on the outermost side collided with the jackals, and the monsters, which had always been proud of their tyrannical bodies, were depressed at the moment. How can it not be smashed? Devour. Fangs out. The undead puppet looked at the jackal expressionlessly and remained motionless. Zhang Shuyu's mind moved. On the spot. There are 4 undead puppets in a group, 14 groups come out together, 1 in a group, 1 with 4 swords. Beep. Several monster jackals fell to the ground on the spot, humming before they died. Kill LV. 17 Quarry Monster Jackal, experience plus 3500, get smooth monster jackal fur. Kill LV. 18 Quarry Jackals, experience plus 3700. Seeing the death of a monster, Zhang Shuyu was in a good mood, and started to use his skills exploding bones. Clap. Boom. The corpses of several monster jackals were detonated before they cooled down. With 10% of their residual spiritual power, double it again. Surviving monsters within 20 meters will receive 2 times the damage of their own HP. But unfortunately, these jackals only have 1 life. In the blink of an eye, the experience value is rising. LV. 15. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help but sigh after upgrading in situ. This upgrade is like a dream, he is like playing a game, and others are struggling desperately. Of course, it shouldn't be too childish, he only has 1 life. But he still can't think of how he will die. After all, the undead puppets are stronger than each other. With a wave of his hand, 7 orange-level undead puppets appeared. There are 150 vacancies in the space, and now 72 have been filled, which is only half. Da. The Jackal King walked back with crippled steps, his eyes filled with confusion and fear. What happened to the explosion just now? Why is this human being safe and sound? Why are my people not breathing? At this moment, there were exactly 4 dead jackals at its feet. Let's taste this skill together, you won't be able to experience it after you refresh it. It didn't understand what Zhang Shuyu said, but saw a white light intruding in front of it, and everything was invisible. Only the crackling of bones and explosions in the ears. The Jackal King was covered in scarlet at this moment, leaning tremblingly to the side. Zhang Shuyu looked at it, a lot of flesh and blood were gone, only bones. Before dying, the Jackal King took a deep look at him, and then fell to the ground. Died of anger. Kill LV. 18 Jackal King in the quarry, experience plus 18750, get the fangs of the Jackal King, monster beast core. With so little experience, the price-performance ratio is not as good as before. It's just 5 ordinary jackals. But for this kind of monster, what everyone is looking for is not experience points, but dropped items. The Jackal King's fangs are very scarce materials, used to make magic weapons, etc., and the price is not low in the Chamber of Commerce. The beast core also has many uses, and can be used to make defensive accessories or inlays, so the price remains high, even if there is no fluctuation. Moreover, the explosion rate of the beast core is low, at least the boss level is required to trigger it. Thinking of this, Zhang Shuyu suddenly felt that he was not at a loss. As he continued to move forward, a suffocating stench hit his face. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help covering his nose. In the long corridor of resentment, all the iron doors have been opened. At first glance, it was empty inside. At the end of the corridor there is a huge pit. Zhang Shuyu could only estimate the diameter of the pit to be about 1 kilometer, but he couldn't see how deep it was. An endless spiral staircase, attached to the wall. There are many greedy monsters vaguely visible on the stairs. They hold swords in their hands and are patrolling up and down. Several greedy monsters noticed Zhang Shuyu. Open black lens bracket LV. 17 Greedy Demon Sword Cultivator, General Level Monster Beast. Open black lens bracket LV. 18 Greedy Demon Sword Cultivator, General Level Monster Beast. These general level monsters are not as good as the Jackal King just now. Although the numbers are relatively high, none of them is above 1,000. Zhang Shuyu raised his hand and waved forward. The 72 undead puppets rushed forward like a tide, holding the broken sword in their hands. These greedy monsters faced the powerful undead puppets, which were the fish on the board, and they were beheaded one after another. Kill LV. 17 Greedy Demon Sword Repair, General Level Monster, experience plus 5625. Kill LV. 18 Greedy Demon Sword Cultivator, General Level Monster, Experience plus 5955, get the Greedy Monster Bone. ... Small fluorescent blue panels popped out one by one. Zhang Shuyu chose to ignore it. You are free to fight. After he ordered softly, he walked slowly up the stairs, enjoying the lazy hang-up mode. The attributes of general level monsters are not high, but they win because they have more experience. As for the item drop rate, it's even more impressive. This is much more cost-effective than hunting monsters aimlessly outside. If you only use the Asian level dungeon, the cost performance should be higher. Zhang Shuyu muttered to himself. This is something no one else dared to think about. If they heard it, they would probably think he was in Versailles. After all, it is the Asian class. Still brush. It's almost like dreaming. It is not that no one has been there in history, but in the end they all died and no one survived. After walking for an unknown amount of time, he finally reached the end of the stairs. At this time, the experience bar is almost coming to an end. If you guessed correctly, the end point is the boss. He didn't expect this trip to be so fast. It's only been more than 2 hours, and he actually wants LV 16 now. It can be said to be quite rewarding. Just a few more rounds, let alone LV 20, LV 24 is probably not a small problem. The level is sufficient and secure, isn't it a sure thing to enter the Shuangwu Holy Land? Sister, wait for me. Thinking of Zhang Shuli, Zhang Shuyu felt warm in his heart. At this time, the big boss was still unaware, lazily leaning on its throne and dozing off. What is an enemy? What is an intruder? Have no idea. The big boss's entire body is lying horizontally, and the tentacles on its body are still rising and falling with its breathing, like wind. It is indeed windy. The wind and waves hit Zhang Shuyu one after another, but it's a pity that this is not the seaside, and there is no beautiful scenery. And the wind is not the sea breeze, but the breath of the big greedy demon king on the throne. Open black lens bracket LV 20 Greedy Demon King, King level monster. Open black lens bracket power 3000 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket agility 2000 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket spirit 2000 close black lens bracket. Physique 3000. Skills ebb tide, burning. Overall, he was not much stronger than the Jackal King of the quarry, but had advantages in strength and physique. But the word king level monster should not be underestimated, it is king level after all. However, the attributes of the undead puppet have also increased, so you can try it out alone. The greedy demon king was awakened, and it leisurely opened its eyes, which were full of vigilance. Immediately, it jumped up. The big knife placed next to the throne also flew up with it, and jumped into its hand. The greedy demon king in midair is majestic and imposing. However, Zhang Shuyu remained motionless, standing where he was. His eyes were calm, with a hint of sarcasm in them. Slashed with a big knife, Zhang Shuyu's hair was driven by the wind, and the wide sleeves of his robe fluttered in the wind. But the big knife stopped right in front of his head, and he couldn't advance an inch. Damage transfer. Just as he was about to let the puppets come forward to attack, his brows furrowed. What's the situation? He was a little puzzled. Even the Jackal King won't let all his undead puppets get hurt. No, this is the boss, not the same. He quickly calmed down, retreated behind, and at the same time let 72 undead puppets attack the Demon King to cover him. Thunderbolt. The undead puppets cast skills at the same time. A powerful attack fell on the greedy Demon King. For a moment, the greedy Demon King was beaten to pieces. The hatred was transferred, and the greedy Demon King naturally shifted the target of attack, and began to attack the undead puppet. In this way, Zhang Shuyu got a respite. He stepped back and began to think about replaying. What the hell happened, so that the damage he was transferred would hurt all the puppets? Damage transfer. Evenly transferred the damage he received to all the puppets. The damage I suffered! Exclamation mark. He is too weak. Now his physical strength is not high, and his constitution is only 150. The power of the greedy Demon King is 3000, which is equivalent to cutting him 20 times. The transferred damage is based on him as the summoner, and will ignore the defense and cause direct damage to the puppet. If the knife was thrown to a puppet, it could be taken down by force. I actually held back the puppet brigade. Is it possible to train the body like the guy? I love drinking animal milk. Tisk. I haven't studied the numerical value, and I don't know if there is a decoction mechanism in this game. Why don't I find a pharmacist someday? Well, it's embarrassing to say this. He is the best for the puppet brigade with him as the spiritual leader. If you meet a smarter opponent who discovers this and directly pesters him to fight him, wouldn't that give him a direct ticket to heaven? It seems that damage transfer is not a panacea. You can no longer be arrogant and arrogant. I, Zhang Shuyu, am an excellent monk in the realm of comprehension. Of course, I must lead by example, check for omissions and make up for vacancies. Crack. The sound of bones being chopped sounded. Zhang Shuyu looked up. It is the greedy demon king. At this moment, there is no good skin on the greedy demon king's body, and blood is flowing everywhere. Numerous puppets climbed onto its body, and 2 or 3 of them were pulling its tentacles to play with the big pendulum. If the blood loss was not real, Zhang Shuyu would really think he was in an amusement park. The 7 or 8 meter tall demon king swung his body, trying to make the puppets on his shoulders, legs, and even his head fall off. The skill was activated, and a wave appeared behind the demon king, rushing towards it. Swish. Low tide. After activation, all the puppets on it were washed away by the sudden tide. Open black lens bracket. Combustion. Close black lens bracket. The knife raised by the greedy demon king was gradually surrounded by sparks and covered with a layer of flames. With a wave of the sword, the flames jumped onto the puppets. Zhang Shuyu obviously felt that the HP of several puppets was dropping crazily. Immediately on the verge of death. Take it back. With quick eyesight and quick hands, he immediately took these puppets back to the mustard space. The flames of the greedy demon king are still spreading in all directions, and the undead puppet has no way to get close. No, it's not a problem to hide like this all the time, it has to be interrupted. Zhang Shuyu made a tactic with both hands, and threw it directly at the demon king. A siren-like scream sounded, extremely ear-piercing. Soul fire has been attached to the demon king's soul and burned. Where does the greedy demon king have the energy to release his skills at this moment? This kind of mental damage is hard to guard against. What's more, the damage value of soul fire is determined according to the level and spiritual value. Although the skill is only LV 15, his spiritual value is only 720, but after being increased by 2000%. Snort. Zhang Shuyu was not idle either, he sent the undead puppets forward to continue the attack. In fact, the skill of soul fire alone is already considered open. It was also the first time that Zhang Shuyu used this skill so seriously. In this way, the unilateral massacre lasted for a whole minute. The greedy demon king fell to the ground with a crash. Kill LV 20 Greedy Demon King, EXP plus 50,000, obtain Orange Level Demon King Dagger, Orange Level Weijing Robe, Greedy Demon King Beast Core. It's only 1% difference. Hey, hee. Zhang Shuyu wanted to laugh, but couldn't. I have already cleared the level. Play this for me. Forget it, hurry up and look at the dropped things to comfort my wounded heart. He looked at the booty with a blank expression. The dagger is suitable for assassins, it can increase power, agility and strength. The robe is suitable for summoners, it can reduce skill CD, and can also add points to value, physique and spirit. After all, he is still in Novice Village, so it seems understandable that he can only get plus 10. However, the Demon King's dagger was not suitable for him, so Zhang Shuyu directly received it in the Void Storage domain, and planned to save it up and sell the spirit stones. Although I am a ghost cultivator, it seems that I also belong to the summoning system, right? But my skill call doesn't have a CD. Zhang Shuyu thought for a while, then put on Wei Jing's robe. Something is better than nothing. After all, this is the equipment that I made with my own hands, so it is of great significance. It's not because of poverty, but because of being too poor. After changing his clothes and playing with the beast core in his hand, Zhang Shuyu felt like a spring breeze. This beast core is bigger and more beautiful than Jackal King's, like a piece of uncut natural spherical ruby. In this deep and dark quarry, the animal core still has warm currents circulating in it. It seems that this beast core is unusual. If you get the Chamber of Commerce, you should be able to exchange for 100,000 spirit stones. The abacus in Zhang Shuyu's mind was rattling. Right now, he has already beaten the boss, the entire arena, and all dungeons have been cleared, and he looks around. Forget it, let's not frantically check if there are any bugs in the dungeon. There shouldn't be any good things in this novice village dungeon. So as not to take myself in when the copy is reset. He sat and recuperated for a while, then got up and walked back to the entrance of the instance. Wow, he's out. It's that kid. He came out alive. How old is he? He actually came out alive after solo brushing. Tisk. Horrible. It seems that they are not arrogant. They do have capital. Wait, that's Wei Jing's rogue. He passed the level. The greedy demon king is not his opponent. As soon as he came out, he stirred up the situation. Many people were waiting for him to guard the door of the dungeon. At this moment, seeing that he was intact and even put on the dropped items, the chat became more heated. After all, the breath of the undead puppet is too eye-catching. But Zhang Shuyu doesn't care about other people's discussion. The dungeon has 6 hours of CD, he needs to recharge his batteries and wait for the next round to start. After all, a lot of experience in the dungeon is so delicious, he worked so hard in the wilderness to find a dozen, it would be better to kill one in the dungeon. He walked to a bush and sat down in meditation. One is to restore mental strength, and you can continue to play Soul Fire later. The second is to sum up experience. This trip to the dungeon allowed him to discover his own weaknesses, and also allowed him to prove the God group attack skill of dry bone bombing. Soul Fire is also not to be underestimated, it can ignore the defense of difficult level bosses, directly carry out mental attacks, and interrupt the opponent's skills. An undead puppet stood guard quietly. More than 100 people nearby could vaguely see Zhang Shuyu's figure, but no one dared to approach him. Joke. In the eyes of everyone, Zhang Shuyu is a big boss with a single undead puppet, which means that this undead puppet can cut wildly by himself alone. Don't dare to provoke. I can't find a reason to be chopped up. After all, it's not polite to interrupt a stranger's meditation. Zhang Shuyu was happy and quiet, and was ready to enjoy the 12 hours of quiet time. When the dungeon opened, he summoned 7 more puppets. It was a joy. Gollum. Zhang Shuyu's stomach rang, and he had to wake up from his trance. The mental strength has been restored to full, of course he has the leisure to smell the aroma of food. At dusk, everyone outside the dungeon had set up bonfires. Yakiniku for yakiniku, soju for soju. In addition to the delicious monster meat, there are also delicious dishes brought by Chef Fansho, which are must-have delicacies in the wilderness. This shows that Zhang Shuyu's field experience is insufficient. Anyone who often comes out to hang out will prepare more ingredients in the void storage area. You can't treat your tongue badly. But Zhang Shuyu thinks the potatoes that are the easiest to handle and still fill his stomach have been robbed. The culprit, Bai Lixi, is still at ease. He could only take out the soup dumplings. Too lazy to set up a bonfire, just take one bite at a time. Fellow Taoist, come and eat with us. A nearby voice sounded, and Zhang Shuyu looked up. A young man in his early 20s was waving to him, and he was holding a barbecue in the other hand to signal him. I don't know what kind of monster meat it is, and it's sprinkled with cumin and brushed with barbecue sauce. Fragrant. But, thank you fellow Taoist, no need. Seeing that his breath is softer, it should be Fa Shu. Zhang Shuyu shook his head, rejecting his kindness. Zhang Shuyu declined the other party's invitation. He is not a foodie, and he doesn't have such high requirements for food. If Bai Lixi was there, he might still consider it. Cough cough. Stop. What are we monks thinking about? Practice well. On the other end, the rejected young man smiled frankly and said nothing more. Tisk. Qin Shi, let's eat well, why did you call him? What's the matter with him? Isn't it just something to eat? It's from the nether system, it's eerie, and it doesn't feel like a good person. Yeah, and he's so cold, he's not easy to get along with at all, why bother sticking to someone else's ass with a hot face? Hearing this, Qin Shi frowned and replied, the awakening of talent is not something we monks can decide, and they are very polite. We can't use the type of summoned creatures, It's like judging people by their appearance, right? Besides, he hasn't done anything bad since he came to this dungeon. He shouldn't be the difficult person you mentioned. After saying that, Qin Shi simply took out the dagger, cut off a large piece of barbecue from the monster on the campfire, and put it on a plate. After taking another lettuce leaf and putting it on top, he stood up, paced towards Zhang Shuyu, and squatted down. Fellow Taoist, let's eat some hot food. You don't have to be so perfunctory when you go out. Zhang Shuyu was stunned, staring blankly into his eyes. In fact, he heard the conversation of the group of people just now. His spiritual value is not low compared to most of his peers, and he can hear it clearly. Zhang Shuyu really doesn't know how to get along with people, not aloof. Seeing Zhang Shuyu in a daze, Qin Shi grinned, put down the plate, turned and left. A warm current flowed across Zhang Shuyu's heart, but subconsciously. Detection. Well, barbecue is no problem. He reached out to wrap the roast in a lettuce leaf and held it up. Well, smell good. Still pickled. If I had this skill. He looked at Qin Shi, who was also looking at him. The two smiled at each other and nodded. Qin Shi is a sunny boy, quite like a big brother next door. Sun Yangyang should be like this when he grows up in a few years, but he should be less suave. In contrast, Zhang Shuyu looks like a shy boy. After his stomach was full, Zhang Shuyu began to meditate again. Copy refresh finished. Zhang Shuyu opened his eyes, looking radiant. Because if he goes in this time, he will definitely be able to rise to LV 16. To say I'm not excited would be a lie. 99%, just short of the goal. I get angry when I think about it. As soon as he got closer, Zhang Shuyu heard someone arguing in front of him. Isn't Your Excellency being too aggressive? That's right. Can we get in the way of you when we enter the dungeon? Fellow Taoist, the dungeon is not your property. Huh, if you say no, you just can't. Our young master is doing tasks in the dungeon, and you will never get in until his task is completed. A middle-aged man in a green robe was holding a guqin in his arms, standing at the front and confronting each other, wanting to make a move. Beside him was also a group of people in green robes. The discipline is neat and the momentum is magnificent. On the other side are more than 100 people waiting at the door to enter. Although there are many people on their side, they are loose and unorganized. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the momentum has changed a lot. HMPH. You Qingsong faction are really domineering. There are still people who are indignant and clamoring, but no one dares to do anything. Why? The Qingsong faction is tyrannical. How can one person or a few people fight against it? Qin Shi was also among them, with an angry expression on his face. Zhang Shuyu went straight to him. What's the matter? Qin Shi was a little surprised when he saw Zhang Shuyu, and then whispered. The young master of the Qingsong faction is doing tasks inside, so the Qingsong faction doesn't want us to go in. Why? What tasks need to block the copy? It's been a long time. It's not because they want the beast core of the greedy demon king. The drop rate of this thing is not high, and it is only available at the difficult level. The most important thing is that the beast core will only drop once every 100 days. They are the ones who released the beast core mission in the Chamber of Commerce. But no one has picked it up, because this beast core is worth 300,000 spirit stones. Where can you buy it for just 100,000 spirit stones? What a fool's dream. The beast core, isn't it in his own hands? What a coincidence. Zhang Shuyu raised his eyebrows. So, today is exactly 100 days. That's right. Qin Shi frowned. With a clear understanding in his chest, Zhang Shuyu thought about it. Originally, he wanted to submit a task in exchange for 100,000 spirit stones, but now, he suddenly felt that he was at a loss. What is the use of this thing? Qingsong faction has a weapon master, which can be used as LV. The strongest equipment under 50. The Ring of the Greedy Demon King, not only plus 10 to all attributes, but also add a level to all skills. Qin Shi added, of course, you need LV 18 to use it. After listening, Zhang Shuyu couldn't help clicking his tongue. It seems that this beast core is really valuable. Those who can be called the strongest are not in vain. Qin Shi was still complaining. Doesn't the young master of the Qingsong faction want to enter the Xuanwu Holy Land? The assessment is coming soon, and he is bound to win the ring against the greedy demon king. Zhang Shuyu smiled slightly, patted his shoulder, and walked forward. Qin Shi was stunned for a moment, and wanted to hold him back. Fellow Taoist, the Qingsong faction is powerful. You can't afford it. At that time, my life will not be worth it. However, Zhang Shuyu's sleeve didn't listen to him, slipping through his hand. What kind of Qingsong faction can be as powerful as his sect? Besides, they must not be able to brush this beast core. How can it affect their own upgrade? It's not just that young master who wants to enter the Xuanwu Holy Land. The crowd who were still cursing and protesting suddenly fell silent, and their eyes focused on Zhang Shuyu. Crunch. For a moment, there was only the sound of puppets walking on the field. What you up to? On the side of the Qingsong faction, the leading luthier saw that everyone was silent and couldn't help becoming vigilant. But the young man in front of him dared to challenge their sect. He was holding the guqin sideways, his eyes were cold. And the dozen or so people behind him looked at Zhang Shuyu at the same time with unfriendly expressions. After being domineering for so long, this is the first time I have encountered a head iron. And they are all LV. The monks above 25 are well equipped, all of which are orange level. There is no shortage of skills and methods, and protracted battles can be fought for a long time. This is also the reason why people don't do it. After all, almost none of the casual cultivators here have reached LV 20, let alone play LV 25. So I can only talk about it. Step aside. Zhang Shuyu walked up to him. Young man, there is a limit to dreams. Don't you see that there are so many people on our side? The luthier curled his lips into a smile, with a strange expression on his face. Unexpectedly, this little guy really came to provoke. Get out of the way, or I'll kill you. Brother Zhang didn't talk too much, and looked at him calmly. A detection spell left him. Hee. Zhang Shuyu, LV. A 15-year-old kid dares to speak nonsense. Didn't your parents teach you to be self-aware? It's still a ghost cultivator. It's the first time I've seen you. It's interesting. Seeing that you are also a skill cultivator, Pindao doesn't care about this little doll like you, so get out. The isolation jade pendant has failed, and the luthier is at least LV 27 monks. In order to enter the Xuanwu Holy Land, it is really a big deal. But whoever wants to stop him, he really doesn't mind killing people. It is not illegal to kill people in the realm of comprehension. There was an uproar at the scene. It turned out that Zhang Shuyu was the LV 15. This level can only brush a copy. Wrong. This is his level after clearing the level, so. Someone swallowed. Courtesy reciprocity. Zhang Shuyu also threw out a detection technique. Open black lens bracket LV 31 luthier Kai Yipeng. Well, there is no other talent bonus, just an ordinary luthier. The luthier sneered when he saw Zhang Shuyu using the detection technique to detect himself. Hey, girl doll, go home and feed yourself. Come out to play before the hair even grows, and want to play a dungeon. It's ridiculous. Do you want uncle to give you a slime to work hard to level up? Ha 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 ha. After learning that Zhang Shuyu was a newborn calf, the members of the Qingsong faction immediately relaxed a lot and laughed. But LV, it's only 31, what's there to be arrogant about? Zhang Shuyu is not afraid at all. But the people behind him wiped his sweat for him. Little fellow Taoist, people from the Qingsong faction have always been tyrannical and will really kill people. You guys are too different in level, don't be tough. Qin Shi even ran forward in a hurry. Fellow Taoist, these people are not to be messed with, we can wait until they finish fighting before entering the dungeon. Zhang Shuyu pressed Qin Zai's arm, his eyes were cold. The undead puppet also took off the sword pin to his waist, and stood ready. I'll say it one last time, get out of the way, or, die. Kai Yipeng was startled for a moment. The way Zhang Shuyu looked at himself was not from a senior monk, but monster. But he came back to himself in the blink of an eye. I am in existence 16 levels higher than the opponent, no matter how talented I am, I can't kill myself. Boy, don't ask for trouble. Do you really think I dare not kill people? Zhang Shuyu looked at him calmly for 3 seconds. Think twice. Kill. Under this understatement order, the figure of the puppet is as fast as lightning. Clang. The banter on Kai Yipeng's face was evident. Maohua, even if Pindao stands still here, you will never break my aura shield. But although the face slapping time is late, it will not be absent. As soon as the words fell, the shields around Kai Yipeng bloomed like spider webs. Click. The shield is crumbling, and the distorted brilliance is still struggling to hold on. Kai Yaipeng's complexion changed drastically. LV 15. The monk's summoned creature was able to almost break his first layer of protection with a single blow. Unscientific. You must know that even if you are a monk of the same level, you are still the strongest swordsman in the arts, and you have to swing your sword at least 5 times to achieve this level. Thunderbolt. Zhang Shuyu parted his lips lightly. The small broken sword of the undead puppet burst into a fiery orange-red light. Kai Yaipeng was dumbfounded. No, won't you be able to break it with another sword? And why do your summoned creatures have skills? I thought so, but he knew in his heart that the baby on the other side, no, the ghost cultivator on the other side really wanted to kill him. Under the power of this skill, not only the shield will be broken. His life is not guaranteed. He quickly hugged the Gukin horizontally, and flicked it with his right hand. Musician Kai Yiming immediately hugged the Gukin sideways and stretched out his hand to play it. The undead puppet was bounced several meters away, and the skill was interrupted. Kai Yaipeng looked back at the other disciples of the Qingsong sect. What are you still doing? At this moment, his face was pale, his voice was cold and harsh, and he was no longer as relaxed as before. Just now, he slipped away before the gate of hell. Clatter. A body repairer moved in response to the sound, with a burly body and a large shield, and rushed forward with big strides. Boom. Was blown away. Body repair. The undead puppet looked up and looked around in a daze. Everyone was dumbfounded. Originally, everyone expected that weird black-robed puppet should be knocked into the air. Power PK, Zhang Shuyu wins. The puppet was ready to go, holding a sword and rushing towards Kai Yaipeng. The master's order has not been completed, continue. Seeing this, Kai Yaipeng immediately backed away. Kill that brat. Experienced people like them know that the best way to deal with summoned creatures is to deal with summoners. The summoner is dead, so what about summoning creatures? Swish. The 3 archers got the order and immediately drew their bows. The 3 feathered arrows pointed straight at the sky with flowing light. The beautiful parabola suddenly split apart. 1 arrow turns 3. Tracking towards Zhang Shuyu. Careful. Behind Zhang Shuyu, many people's hearts instantly rose to their throats. But the sharp arrow's target looked as usual, as if he hadn't seen it. However, 3 faint blue vortexes suddenly appeared in front of him, 1 on the left, 1 in the middle and 1 on the right. 3 undead puppets appeared expressionless. Clang. Clang. A string of metal clashes clanged like a musical instrument. Kai Yaipeng's face became ugly. There is more than one. Immediately, the 3 puppets each found their target and rushed towards the 3 shooters. Kai Yaipeng calmed down immediately, and it was normal to have 4 characters. There are also summoners in the sect who have 4 characters for summoning creatures. His fingertips were flying, and he continued to attack. All the spiritual power turned into needles that were clearly visible to the naked eye and flew towards the puppet. Help the shooter block it. Several body and sword cultivators and other art cultivators rushed forward to confront the puppets. After the task of stopping the puppet was taken over, Kai Yaipeng targeted Zhang Shuyu again. The Gukin flew up, and the red flames bloomed, covering the body of the Qin. Flame dance. Kai Yaipeng's whole body is full of evil spirits, and he is bound to win. His right hand moved forward. Dang, a sharp-eyed person exclaimed. Isn't this a skill that can only be learned at level 25? It's still a very rare skill. It's over. This little brother shouldn't be able to beat him, right? Almost everyone agrees that 4 puppets is the limit of Zhang Shuyu's summoning. 20 undead puppets appeared together, and the orange sparks in their eyes were dazzling. A puppet fights against a member of the Qingsong faction, and most of them rushed towards Kai Yaipeng. How come there are so many? The luthier Kai Yaipeng's expression was extremely ugly. Hooray! Fortunately, he has enough experience and has experienced a lot. And the people of the Qingsong faction also cooperated tacitly, and immediately retreated and gathered together. Physical training comes first, sword training, archer and other skills are output in the middle, and law training is all assisted at the end. Qingsong School is organized and disciplined, with reasonable collocation. Although these summoned creatures are strong, but it is only a matter of time before they are all resolved. The increase in law repair is fully open. All 4 attributes are added. Skill repair attack power increased. Skill upgrades. As long as it can be added, everything is arranged. But in a short while, all states will be added. The team cooperated tacitly, and the corners of Kai Yaipeng's lips curled up. Stinky boy, let's see how you fight us. Although they were surrounded by a bunch of nether-type summoned creatures, it was not like they had never experienced such an experience. The one who has the last laugh must be the Qingsong faction. Zhang Shuyu didn't interrupt their operation, just to increase their knowledge. Seeing that the other party was ready, he turned to the person behind him and spoke. Stand back a little bit. Swish. Everyone retreated obediently. Nonsense. This boss who only brushes dungeons, where is his strength, can he not listen? The distance of more than 10 meters should be almost the same. Zhang Shuyu turned around and launched an attack. Just when Kai Yaipeng was wondering why everyone was so obedient, a flame flashed away from his eyes. Ah! The scream pulled him back from his thoughts. It's a shooter, soul fire is thrown on him, and the blood bar drops instantly. Faxiu immediately treated him. False alarm. The shooter came back to his senses, his eyes filled with horror. At the critical moment, it was Faxiu who rescued him back. Almost died. If he hadn't been in the state of formation being boosted, at that moment just now, he would be gone. Kai Yaipeng also broke out in a cold sweat. How did he forget? The opponent is not just a summoner. It's ghost repair. The mysterious and unpredictable means in the legend. Most of them were created by people from the Nether and Shadow Department. Even if people want to defend themselves, they have no way to start. Also pay attention to other Dharma cultivators. Be ready for treatment at any time, and the opponent can attack from a distance. Kai Yaipeng commanded loudly, and the expressions of everyone in the Qingsong faction became serious. It was the first time in my life that I encountered a situation where more than a dozen people were surrounded by one person. Zhang Shuyu looked at the 3 outermost body cultivators, who were suffering terribly at this moment. What is the boss of a difficult dungeon? This power is at least 8 bosses. Even if a lot of treatment falls on them, the double torture of physical and mental blows is not something ordinary people can bear. Concentrate on attacking and break down one by one. Just after Zhang Shuyu finished speaking, except for the 2 puppets facing each other against a body repairer, the body repairer after the other puppets shifted their targets wanted to cry but had no tears. He had to withstand the simultaneous attack of 22 golems. The next moment, a flame flashed across his eyes. There was a sword cultivator behind him who reacted very quickly, and rushed behind him to run the ultimate defense together with him. The pressure suddenly decreased a lot. But, the flame penetrated the barrier and directly burned his soul. Ah! He screamed. Even though Faxiu continued to heal him, under the attack of the undead puppets, the barrier between the two was still shrinking. Originally, he could hold on to the enchantment for tens of seconds, but he couldn't hold on. The moment the ultimate defense disappeared. Thunderbolt. At the same time, another soul fire flew out. Ah! 22 bolts of thunder fell on the body cultivator and the sword cultivator behind him at the same time. Faxiu is also helpless. Because. The 2 were instantly killed. A gap was opened in the formation, and Kai Yaipeng's eyelids twitched wildly. Run, run, that's too late. Zhang Shuyu ordered the puppet to throw the bodies of the 2 people in the middle of the heads of the Qingsong faction. Bones exploded indiscriminately. Boom. The skeletons of the 2 were detonated, and the volley was the most powerful. There was only an explosion sound in Kai Yaipeng's ear, and then spike. All of this was expected by Zhang Shuyu. After all, the physical body of a physical cultivator is tyrannical, and the energy stored in his body is the most among the surgical cultivators. None of the monks of the Qingsong sect survived. Large patches of things were scattered across the lush grass. Zhang Shuyu didn't even look at what it was, and put away everything with a big wave of his hand. The people behind him were suddenly speechless. Dare not speak. They didn't dare to step forward until Zhang Shuyu entered the instance. Good boy. Are they all gone? Tisk, isn't it? There's not even a piece of clothing left. Cruel. So cruel. It's so satisfying. Brother Zhang doesn't talk harshly. He's younger than you. Hey, fellow Taoists' words are wrong. We monks should respect our strength. But Zhang Shuyu is probably finished. With the bad temper of the Qingsong sect, he probably won't be kind. Then, will we be affected? Qin Shi heard people's words and discussions up to this point, so she stood at the front first. Fellow Taoists, I have something to say. Everyone knows that with the style and temperament of the Qingsong school, it will definitely not be good, and we are all here to witness the whole thing. Just imagine if they caught us, no matter whether we say it or not, the end will only be one word. Die. Therefore, Pindao has a suggestion. Why don't we set off now, leave Xuanyu City, and even stay away from Shanghai County, as if we don't know anything? After leaving the sphere of influence of the Qingsong faction, is there no place for experience? They can't cover the sky with one hand. What do fellow Taoists think? After Qin Zai's impassioned speech, everyone agreed very much and deeply agreed. Because what Qin Shi said is the truth. Although the Qingsong faction is named after Pine, what they do is not a gentleman. It can even be said to be evil. As long as they are caught by them, even if they confess the truth, they will still be killed across the board, dead. Since everyone has no objection, then the poor will take a step forward. Everyone, goodbye in the world. Qin Shi cupped his fists forward, lifted his robe, and left the place with the flying magic weapon. Goodbye, everyone. Seeing this, the rest of the people bid farewell to those around them one after another. In less than a minute, everyone at the gate of the dungeon dispersed like birds, and no one stayed behind. At this moment, surrounded by the empty forest, only the entrance of the quarry dungeon in Xuanyu City is slowly flowing, and there are spiritual fluctuations in the blue brilliance. Moonlight enveloped the place. Just after the time for 2 cups of tea, a group of people appeared at the door of the dungeon. He Yudong looked annoyed and disappointed. This time, he returned empty-handed again. The beast core of the greedy demon king still did not appear. It will take another 6 hours for the dungeon to be refreshed. But, luckily, he still has time. There are still a few days before the assessment, and he can enter the dungeon at least 4 times. Finally, he realized something was wrong. Why is it so quiet? He frowned. Where are Kai Yaipeng and those disciples? And where are all the people at the entrance of the copy? During the time we entered the copy, what happened? The people who came out with He Yudong were also suddenly at a loss. They all only have LV. It's only 21, if anything happens to Kai Yaipeng, it's not something they can parry. Several people looked at He Yudong, hoping that the young master could make up his mind. But He Yudong has never experienced it, and now he has a lot of questions in his stomach and wants to ask someone. He thought for a long time before speaking. Flare. Immediately, a disciple reacted, took out the signal flare from his arms, and pulled it. Call out. Huge pine-shaped fireworks exploded in the air. It can be seen even from a distance of 5,000 meters. 2 minutes later, there was no movement. Call out. Another shot. 3 minutes passed, still nothing. Kai Yaipeng and others should not be here anymore. He Yudong finally realized that what happened to the people outside the dungeon when the group of them were brushing the dungeon. Otherwise it is impossible to leave. And, the possibility of Kai Yaipeng being killed. He hadn't thought about it at all. Because of the strength of the group of people who protected him, in the dungeon area, there is a crushing existence. What's more, even if he was really killed, some traces should be left behind. However, everything in front of him was intact. Like the scene that has been refreshed, there are no people. There's something wrong here. If you stay here, there might be some danger. Let's go back first. He decided to take everyone away first. After all, the atmosphere here is too quiet and weird. In the dungeon, 72 undead puppets rode horses and swords along the way, and Zhang Shuyu followed slowly. This time, his process of clearing the dungeon was the same as last time, and his experience was brushing up. But this time his efficiency was much higher, and he had already reached the boss in just an hour. The undead puppets swarmed up, bombarded indiscriminately, and output crazily. The sound of metal and flesh colliding rang out. The greedy demon king was extremely aggrieved. Zhang Shuyu interrupted him with soul fire every time he wanted to activate his skills. And every time soul fire came out, it was faster than the greedy demon king. In just 30 seconds, the big boss of the difficult level dungeon fell to the ground in humiliation and died. Kill LV. 20 Greedy Demon King. Experience plus 50,000. Get orange level Greedy Magic Book. Ordinary Monster Beast Core. This time, there is no Beast Core of the Greedy Demon King. His luck is really good. The rule of dropping once every 100 days made Zhang Shuyu deeply appreciate the preciousness of the greedy demon king beast core. When he arrived at the Xuanwu Holy Land, he would find a weapon master and ask someone to help him forge the ring of the greedy demon king. LV. Although the attributes of the orange-level greedy magic book that can be used at 15 are not very suitable, it seems that it can be used as a transitional equipment. The 3% increase in the power of summoning skills is useful for soul fire and bone explosion, but it is a pity that it has no effect on undead puppets. After all, they are not skills, but summoning creatures. At this time, Zhang Shuyu has successfully promoted to LV. 16. Experience requirements are still increasing. Next time the dungeon will be upgraded to LV. 17 should be no problem. But according to the ratio and time calculation, I can still download 5 copies at most, and at most it can be raised to LV. 20. Although it's worse than expected, it should be enough to enter the Xuanwu Holy Land with a LV. 20 attitude. After he exited the dungeon, he saw the desolation in front of him and was stunned for a moment. These people slipped so fast. Also, life is important. If he is not strong enough, he will choose this way. Finding a direction at random, he dashed forward, disappearing in the darkness. Continue waiting. The sun is rising, and the setting sun is warm. In front of the copy of the quarry, there is still no one. What's the situation? Is this a copy of the quarry? What's wrong with it? Not even one. Yeah, usually there are so many people stationed here, why is it so quiet today? A small team that came over looked dazed, but they didn't think any more, and stepped directly into the dungeon. After 12 hours, Zhang Shuyu stretched his waist and walked towards the copy with the undead puppet. This man is so weird. Yeah, the whole body exudes a cold breath. Huh, doesn't he form a team? Enter the dungeon experience alone. Damn it. The appearance of him and the puppet once again caused a sensation in the audience. There was only one person, his eyes were rolling, and the high ambition in his heart seemed to be a bit dimmed. It's him. Did he enter the dungeon alone? Shu Wan bit her red lips tightly, seemingly unwilling. She just arrived at LV today. 12 went straight out of the city and came here. And relying on her rare talent as a skill repairer, she quickly found a team. After all, it is only LV to form a team and enter Xuanwu City. 17 copy of the quarry, the difficulty is not high. But to be alone, it's as difficult as heaven. Although Zhang Shuyu's talent and strength are very strong now, but it's not that he has no chance to surpass him. In her heart, Zhang Shuyu was like a mountain that weighed heavily on her heart. She even felt that if she couldn't surpass him, she might have inner demons in the future. She doesn't allow that to happen. Wait, Zhang Shuyu, I will definitely surpass you. Soon, her team also entered the copy. Qingsong School. Why don't you go and beat He Yudong with a stick? Nizi, how did you do such a stupid thing? Do you think our Qingsong faction is the king? Has your brain been eaten by a dog? You don't pay much attention to the foundation that your father and I worked so hard to build, do you? It must be destroyed. After the violent beating, why not go to the anger subsided a lot? He Yudong, who was kneeling on the ground, looked at the family stick on the ground trembling in the conference hall, not daring to speak back. Why not sit on the first seat, take a sip of tea, and calm down a little? I'll keep you in confinement during this period of time. Think about it carefully. Do you have any objections? He Yudong lowered his head and quickly shook his head. No, son. Well, Engson is preparing for the assessment in the pie. Anyway, your level is enough. Why don't you take another sip of tea, with a lot of thoughts in your mind? Then, father, what about Elder Kai Yaipeng and his disciples? He Yudong timidly looked up at his father. Don't meddle in this matter, I have already sent someone. After all, it's not a simple role to make such a group of people disappear at the same time. After all, why not wave your hand impatiently and drive him away? He Yudong is already LV. It's 20, even if there is no greedy demon king beast core, it's not a big problem, and entering the Xuanwu Holy Land is a certainty. In the dungeon, Zhang Shuyu led 79 undead puppets all the way to kill, and the efficiency was much higher than that of 12 hours ago. Wherever he went, not a single blade of grass grew. And now Zhang Shuyu is extremely familiar with the entire dungeon, and the speed is even faster. 40 minutes later, Zhang Shuyu saw an old acquaintance again. Oh, still sleeping. Isn't it too silly to start like this every time? It's all about complaining, but if the opening changed, he would feel horrified instead. Then, when the greedy demon king woke up, his body was already covered with undead puppets, and more than half of his blood had been lost. She was about to get angry, and wanted to call out the tide to wash away all the puppets, when a cold flame appeared in her mind and scorched her soul. The skill was interrupted, and the result was the greedy demon king fell on his throne, no longer breathing. Kill LV. 20 Greedy Demon King. Experience plus 50000. Get the orange level Greedy Bow, Ordinary Monster Beast Core. There is still nothing special about the dropped items. Zhang Shuyu no longer feels surprised, and directly puts them into the void storage domain. The Greedy Demon King's eyes were still opened unwillingly, as if he was staring at Zhang Shuyu. Look, I'm leaving in a few days, so you don't have to look at it. Anyway, you will be killed, and you will be refreshed. Doesn't it matter who kills you? If it's because of time, then I can't help it. Who made you so good? After speaking, Zhang Shuyu made himself laugh. Isn't it unprecedented for him to talk to himself with a boss like this? Just as Zhang Shuyu expected, this time he was indeed promoted to LV. 17. After exiting the dungeon, he quickly left the surrounding area and found a quiet place to settle down. At dusk, a group of people came to the dungeon neatly. They are dressed in green shirts with pine patterns on them, and they belong to the Ching sect. This time they were not doing dungeons, but looking for information. Yesterday, Kai Yipeng and the dozen or so disciples he led had no news. As if the world had evaporated, He Yudong thought more and more something was wrong, so he reported it to his father in charge. The head teacher of the Ching faction thought over and over again, for the sake of safety, let everyone act in a low-key manner and don't make any publicity. So people saw an unimaginable scene. The Ching sect disciples who are arrogant and domineering on weekdays are very polite and courteous today, saying one by one, I have met a fellow Taoist, may I ask? But the people who came to the dungeon today have undergone a major change, and they don't know what happened yesterday. Therefore, all the disciples of the Ching sect got nothing and returned home in defeat. But at the same time, the news that the Ching faction blocked the dungeon spread like wildfire, which aroused strong resentment from many people. At this point, the Cultivation World Alliance issued an ultimatum to prohibit the Ching faction from doing this again, otherwise they will face the crisis of destruction. After all, the dungeon is shared by the monks in the entire firmament domain. A small sect is so arrogant that it really shakes the towering tree with the power of a gnat. In the dead of night, when everyone set up a bonfire to prepare food, Zhang Shuyu entered the instance for the 4th time. Looking at the very familiar door, a thought flashed in his mind. Why don't you change your style of play and see if it will be more efficient? Immediately, 87 demon puppets rushed forward, ignoring all the monsters along the way. After being so provoked, the monsters were so angry that they also chased after them, completely ignoring Zhang Shuyu who was trailing behind them. The front end of the entire dungeon seemed to turn into several running tracks, with undead puppets running wildly in the front, greedy monsters chasing wildly in the middle, and Zhang Shuyu, who was 1250 meters away from the first puppets, was also walking like flying in the light wind. The distance between the orange level puppet and him has doubled. 1250 meters is enough. Arriving at the place where the monsters and jackals gathered, the Jackal King, who was drowsy, was awakened by the sound of rumbling, footsteps in the tunnel. It stood up impatiently and roared, and all the jackals walked out through the side iron gate. However, the undead puppet continued to choose to ignore it. When Zhang Shuyu's figure appeared at the entrance of the corridor, the undead puppets turned around in an instant, and the monsters stopped in shock. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.